Hi everybody. So if you enjoy this video, this upcoming video, please look up Nat from Mud Magic on YouTube and watch her video because she really knows what she's doing and I really do not. So this was a bit of fun. I threw a flop bowl after having watched Nat from Mud Magic do a proper tutorial on it on her channel, and I thought, what the heck, I'm a beginner and a little bit above a beginner, I guess, and I'm going to give it a shot because, well, Nat told me to, so I did. So I hope you enjoy it. There's a lot of fun and ridiculous, stupid throwing on the wheel of what turned out to be, in the second attempt, quite a large pot. So come along with me and watch how I do it, and then if you really enjoy this ridiculous video, then pop over to Mud Magic and watch how someone that knows what they're doing actually does it properly, and learn from them and give it a go. Hello. So for the first time today, I felt well enough to get back on my wheel and do a little bit of a play, or well enough to do anything clay related actually. So my mini fluey things getting much better, and yeah, I'm getting there. Still look like the wreck of Hesperus, still pale and washed out, but hey. So today I thought I'd do something a little fun. I'm actually going to, this is a total rip-off of Nat from Mud Magic. She threw a flop bowl and put it up as a tutorial. This is not a tutorial, but I thought, well, I'm very much an amateur. I'm a beginner really potter, so I thought it might be interesting for some beginner potters that may have watched Nat, and she's far better potter than I am, but may have watched that video and thought, oh, I can't do that. Well, give it a shot. That's what I do. I just try everything. This is my adorable, very naughty 11-month-old border collie puppy, Lily, who's obsessed with mum and coming to say hi. She'll sell, because she can hear me talking to nobody in particular. I'm wondering why. I bought these, and this will be back to front. This is the top bat system because of Nat. I saw it on Nat's and I'd ummed and ahed about it, and I bought it. Love it, absolutely love it. And I did contact Tony from Top Bats because I was having a lot of trouble getting this thing off the wheel after I'd thrown, because it seemed to suction itself onto the wheel. And he said, well, you could make a little hole in the side to get a tool under. So I did. I don't know whether you could. Yeah, you can see that. I drilled out just a little divot there, and it solved that problem. I just fit my tool, any tool, underneath and lift it up, off and break that suction. I was really struggling to get it off. But that was my only problem with this system, because it's great. It's one of two systems I own. I think this one's good. And I threw a flop bowl after I watched Nat's tutorial, and I'll explain as I go. So I'm going to be throwing this, so you know, I know a bit. I have the hexagonal insert for this is the 305 centimeter bat. I've got the hexagonal insert, and I've bought about 10 of these little things that pop in there, and I'm going to throw on that. So what I've got today is 800 grams. God, Aussies use grams. I don't wet my bat. I don't dry. I don't know. I just, as I said, I'm a beginner. I slap it down. I slap it in. And I don't mind throwing large, but Nat did this with something like 3 kilos of clay. No, you're not going to see me do that. However, I'm going to make 2, but I'll have to do it in 2 sections, and I'll explain that why in a minute. So get my other sponge. For some reason, I'm just used to this. It's what I've always used. I don't use a lot of water. I'm learning so much as I go. Probably make an awful mess of my phone doing this. And as I said, I haven't thrown for over a week, and as a beginner this could be fraught with danger and it may never get uploaded. And please don't follow my throwing skills, because you might get yourself in all sorts of trouble. I've never had an awfully big problem with centering, not that I can do it that well all the time, but I've never had a big problem with it. I did pot, I had a wheel and a couple of kilns in Rockhampton over 30 years ago, but I only had them for about 6 months, I suppose, and virtually haven't thrown on a wheel since then. So I will cone up and down a couple of times and just align the particles in this clay. I'm using Walker's PB103 clay. That feels pretty good to me. Okay, so I'm going to attempt, and like I said, this could take 3 or 4 videos, who knows, attempt to make a bowl. So that's, I want a deep foot, so I'm going to open out, but I'm not going to go down a long way, because I'm envisaging having quite a deep foot on this. I like bowls with feet, and of course I'm still learning, very much learning. So Nat does an awesome job of this. I still use my needle tool, and that is way too deep, so I'll go down a little bit more. Lily, will you get out of there? My puppy goes under there searching for things like sponges. I cover everything up overnight now because I've lost a couple of sponges, and luckily they were cheap ones and not expensive ones. So I'm just going to pull that open. Straighten the walls a little bit with, now as I said, I'm a beginner pretty much, so I can only show you what I do, and I do use several methods because I don't think I've kind of settled on one for everything. Don't have any filter if it does. I'll just test that again. Okay, so that's not going to give me much of a foot, but that's okay. I'm not experienced enough to talk and do this yet, so I may edit some of this out. Just going to give this a nice solid base, compress the base quite a bit, because I won't now be turning a lot off the bottom of that. So this for a beginner is a fairly decent piece of clay to throw, I know, but what the heck. As I said to Nat, actually, because I was talking to her, I had, you know, sent a message on one of her videos and whatever the other day, and as I was saying to her, you know, the beauty of getting old and starting a YouTube channel is that as you get older, you don't care if you make a fool of yourself so much. So first pull, this is going to be to straighten my walls. Press my rim. God, I hope all the experts watching this don't cringe. Probably will. There's so many people I watch. Undercut it a little bit, and then do another dress I'll also colour in because I've made a weak spot in there, I know. Colouring, you know what I mean. And this is going to go horribly wrong, I can feel it. But anyway, we'll give it another shot. Up we come, not too slow. And I might even get a sponge to hold in my hand, I think. Because that, for some reason, is getting a little dry. So I'll just hold that. Put my fingers under. Give myself a bit more water there because that's where I've made a thin spot. And again. Oh, this is looking dreadful. This may not work, you know. What I did was I threw a pot, and it was only 600, oh, it would have been maybe 500 grams. I'm just going to get a metal rib and compress that. Just compress that to make it a little more stable. Look at that, I'm putting it right off there because for some reason my hands are dry. I'll just get a sponge on the inside and do that with a sponge. I have no idea where all this information's coming from or if it's correct or whatever. I'm just gabbling on madly here. And that looks a little, oh yeah, that's wonky. That is wonky. So one more. Actually, I'm not going to do that. A bit of a rib. And as Nat said, that's got a real shonky bit in the middle. So I'm going to attempt to compress that and make it more stable so it doesn't collapse when I do finish. Wow, sent that real wonky, haven't I? Huge lesson on how not to make a bowl, people, but that's okay. What I'm going to do is, this will really throw it off. And I'm pretty sure this will not make it live. However, it is going to be a wonky bowl anyway, so let's try it. Got it? Okay. So, it's not as bad as I thought. Not the shape I wanted, but hey. So what I'm going to do is, and this is what I did before because I threw the first one of these and I threw the bowl and then I thought, okay, how am I going to tip that upside down because this is so much thinner than the base. So what I did was, I'm just going to leave it sit in my hand for just a second or two, just get that initial super wetness off it. So what I did was, first I tipped it upside down and shook it really gently, and then I got the hexagonal insert the other way, and then I turned it around because you can do that with a hexagon, and then it sits on that, which gives me the breadth to then get, and you've got to be careful it doesn't then just suddenly fall through, and then get a container, and this is much bigger. Lower it down, sit on on the rim of that. I left it sit, I don't know, tell me Nat if I'm doing it wrong. Then I let it sit for a good half to 3/4 of an hour, and then I lifted it all off, tipped it upside down, and I have my flop. Okay, so Sharon is going to attempt to pretend to be more clever than she actually is. So this is probably the largest piece of clay I have ever thrown, and it's about 3.5 pounds. Again, it's Walker's PB 103 white stoneware. Again, I'm going to attempt to make a flop bowl. And I rather like the term flop bowl because highly likely it'll be a flop. I'll think positive. It's nice soft clay. Just get my hands down there and bring it in a little bit at the bottom. Divot I constantly get in the top because I didn't make a cone before I coned it up. Wow, that was way too much water, Sharon. Only somebody who really doesn't care how they appear to other people on film would attempt something like this as an amateur or a beginner, because really I'm nowhere near experienced to pull this off, enough to pull this off, but I'm going to give it a red hot go. That feels better. I am slowly getting a feel for clay. Just feel much better. I really put a lot more force into that than I probably need. And I think it's a beginner's thing. I don't know. I've got quite strong hands because I've got dressage horses. And I'm going to just put a little bit of divot in the middle of that one so it holds a little bit more water for me. I do like to open with both thumbs on anything large. I'm only just very slowly getting control. Keep looking at the wrong place on this phone because I'm used to actually taping with my camera, and I wasn't about to bring my very good DSLR mirrorless out here amongst the mud. So I like to just use, what do they call it, a crab claw, to open it up a bit so I can get my fingers down in there, test the bottom, and then I will just collar that to bring it back more to center, back off the speed a little bit. That was something I really struggled to get used to when I was a beginner, because I do tend, my personality is, God, like the clappers, like go at everything full bore. Try everything from the hardest, the most difficult perspective physically possible, and hopefully you end up in the middle ground somewhere closer to where you think. Now that is a really deep foot. But that, for me at the moment, is what I want, because I really lose a lot when I compress down. I think it's the fear of having a cracked bowl after doing all this work. So that will go down to a bit over 1 centimetre, which is what I'm after. I truly am, because I want a deep foot. I love deep foots on bowls. I really do. So I do tend to make a deep foot. And I did when I was potting before, many years ago. However, I was way too much of a beginner to know that I still had to thin the walls out at the base. And the pots I do have that I made back then have extremely heavy, well, they're heavy period, but they have very heavy bases. Just going to pinch that together, remove the slip from outside that. Test the base again. That's more towards what I want. A little bit more than 1 centimetre. I'm just going to just compress it one more time with my fingers to give a really nice deep foot. So just going to collar that in again. This is a lot of clay for a beginner to pull up. So I am going to really, really wet that and just straighten my walls first with that kind of, I call it a semi-pull. You know, I actually sound like I might have some inkling of what I'm doing, and I don't. I really don't. Okay, I keep looking at myself and not at the where the lens is. Sorry about that. Pull it in. Compress the rim a bit more. So let's go for it. I've already pulled that off a bit. It already feels a little bit wobbly. So, what I do then is rib the side. Straighten the sides a bit more. And I want to collar it in again because I'm actually going out too fast. I've got a lot of clay here. But I've got to pull up. And while I'm not going to be able to get that back into a cylinder, I want it in more than that. It doesn't feel too bad to me. God knows whether or not I'm right. I'm going to get that sponge in my hand. Way too dry on the inside. There's a bit of slip there. These are the pressure so I don't get too thin on top yet. Press the rim. One more, I'm hoping. Just one more. Oh, that's thin there. And it's going. Hopefully. Not yet. I am not good enough at this yet to take that any further than that. I'm just not. So what I'm going to do is again get that metal rib, clean it off. And try to stabilise the wall a little bit for myself. Actually, I'm better off with a sponge. And I'll use a mud tool sponge because it'll give me a nice smooth edge on the inside. Beautiful. And I know I'm wetting this sponge quite a bit, but I don't want it to grab. Smooth the sides. And then I'll sponge out the bottom. And then just hold it, feather light, butterfly feather light against the inside. Might get a little bit more width, but it's not really what I'm after. And I'm going to very gently chamois the outside, mainly because I don't want crackings on my rim. So I'll chamois it, smooth it and compress it. Lord, I sound like I know what I'm doing, don't I? Run that mud tool sponge, which I really like, over the outside. Let's see if I can do this without destroying my pot. I tend to take too much off at once, but I'm hoping to not have a lot of trimming to do when it dries, if any. And I know I said I was going to put a foot on it. I have no idea how I'm going to do that because I don't own a Giffen grip. However, I figure I have just done that, haven't I? I have just bumped that rim. So before I go any further, I will fix that. And now, once again, clean it up, make it pretty, make sure there is absolutely nothing on the bottom, but not only that, I actually want to put a swirl in the bottom of this one. So I would like the optimum glazing experience with this. Wow, now just remember not to wire it off, because because there's no way you can tip it upside down after you've wired it off. So there you go. On camera, I have actually thrown the largest piece of clay I've ever attempted. I have a wet box up there. I'm going to get it down. Whoa! The seat nearly bucked me off. Wobble wobble. Breathe. Wow. And this is the first one I did. It was about 600 grams of clay, I think, 500 grams of clay. It's almost dry enough to bisque fire. Thank you so much, Nat. I really loved it. Hi. So, I think this larger one is dry enough to turn upside down. The smaller one is nowhere near dry enough, and I'll do that. I'll leave it another hour, which is, the clay must have been much wetter on that one. But I think this one is dry enough to turn upside down. Turn the right way up. So I'm just going to gently remove this and gently turn it up the right way. Look at that. The bowl. And I'm going to wait for that to dry just a little bit longer, upside down, and about an hour I'll get it out and let it dry off completely. And then we'll wait for it to dry, be bisqued and glazed, and I'll show you when it's all finished. Hopefully that goes well. So I hope you enjoyed that. A beginner seriously trying to do intermediate pottery without a clue in the world what she's doing. But hopefully it worked out well. I will post, after I've bisqued and fired that pot, I'll post a shot of it. I need to do some serious, put some serious thought into what glazes I'll use. And look, if you're a beginner, or you know, if you're just a little bit above a beginner, just try it. I did, you know, Nat said just try it, so I did, and I think it'll work out just. If you like this video, please subscribe. Come and join the hilarity that is Sharon learning pottery. Well, Nat, I gave it a shot. I haven't done the ring vase yet, but I probably will in the next couple of days. I'm still really struggling with this mini flu thing that I've got, and I get a little lightheaded at times. So great time to make a ridiculous video, wasn't it? But I gave it a shot and I actually pulled it off. I'm really quite happy with it. So, and I'm looking forward to getting it dried and glazed and seeing what I get at the end of it. Thank you so much for your tutorial. And I hope this was okay for me to rip you off blatantly. And one day I hope to be as good a potter as you are. So thanks very much. Bye for now.